I think the biggest problem with Barcelona is all the people who are above the manager. This is Matchweek. You are joined by myself, Ardi Emini. We discuss everything soccer, from the highs and the lows in the sporting week to the news that is relevant to you. Welcome back. You are listening top of the hour on WMSC Upper Montclair. And this is Match Week. Guys, I'm back again today with Dimitrios, the one and only. Dimitrios, how we doing?
I'm doing good, my friend. How are you?
Good. It's great to hear you. Now, today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a guest show up around 11 o'clock. Someone newer. Of course, this time, at least our guest gave us a heads up. Most of the time, everyone just runs late just because they want to run late. But, we work from there. We move on. But here is what we're going over today. We're going to do a quick recap of the weekend's games as, with international break coming up, we're not going to have much games to talk about. So let's talk about the results while we can, even though half of the games were postponed. Makes no sense still, but whatever. England for you with the Queen. Not only are we going to be covering the English games, just we're going to do a quick recap in the rest of Europe, see what major results catch our eye, and we're going to go from there. Now, Dimitrios, what's this first game in mind that intrigued you over the weekend?
The Arsenal-Brentford game.
Of course.
Of course it'll be Arsenal.
We're going to be Arsenal, bro. But, rightfully so, because Brentford has been the team where they've been pulling results out of nowhere. They've been genuinely able to piece themselves together well. Obviously, with the win against Manchester United, granted, it was a horrendous United side at the time. But still, being able to get a victory like that over a top six team is still impressive.
Yeah, and the way they set up their shape also, it's like a 3-5-2, and how they press, and sometimes they'll man mark the ball. But the way Arsenal was playing, they were set up in a 4-2-3-1. But then when they'll transition, it'll be a 2-3-5 with the wingbacks tucking into the middle. And their passing range will turn into a weird diamond shape. So a lot of the times Brentford, they'll drag them to one side, and then boom, one pass to the other side of the field, it'll just switch on. And the first 90 seconds, Martinelli should have buried that chance. He didn't.
Yeah, but he still had a filthy goal though.
But no, it was Martinelli. It was like Jesus. Yeah, Jesus had the header.
Yeah, but wasn't Martinelli from distance place it in off the bar, bro?
Was it with? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but Kyle Osaka sets him up. He's top of the D. Just straight up whips it to the right side. It hits the right post into the goal, bro.
It's just crazy.
Martinelli's been hitting new levels this season, 100%.
Yeah, he didn't even get called up. None of the Brazilians on the team got called up to the Brazil.
Are you serious?
Jesus, Martinelli, and Gabby in the back, they didn't get no calls up.
Wow, that's crazy. Gabby Jesus, here's the thing, that's the person who's been a mainstay in the national team, which I've been very surprised. I'm not really surprised about, but it's been 50-50 for him. Martinelli, you think with the season he's having so far, they gotta just, strike the iron while it's hot, right? Just take advantage of it.
Yeah.
And then Gabby, it's tough. There's a whole bunch of Brazilian defenders that can make it over him. So over Jesus and Martinelli, who got called up over him? Did Richarlison get called up? Or
it was Anthony Matthias Cunha.
Cunha, yeah.
For some reason, he can't hit the back of the neck. Yeah. This other guy from Flamengo, and I don't even know. There's another guy from Flamengo that, he's doing well down there, I guess. And Rafinha.
Wait, Rafinha is in Barca Rafinha?
Yeah, Barca Rafinha. And I think someone else from the Brazil league. They all got called up.
Do you think that he's just that the Brazilian manager's just trying to test out, different players?
I think so.
Because there's no rational reason why you don't call up Martinelli and Gabby Jesus if they're having this type of form.
Yeah, I think that's the reason why. I think he just wants to see other players play, because I think like this World Cup, I think that the roster might be a little bit bigger, like an extra player or two. So he's trying to
because of Qatar and because I think is it going to be a 5-sub World Cup?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, especially because with the heat in Qatar, I think they're going to do water breaks just how they did in Brazil 2014.
Mm-hmm.
So see what happens from there. I mean, here's the thing: the biggest result for me over the weekend had to be Spurs versus Leicester. 6-2. Heung-min Son comes off the bench, scores a hat trick. I mean, this game really ruined my FPL 110%. I was not expecting this to be such a big blowout. If I had known that, I would have been like everyone else and got Son and Kane. But, we live and we learn.
I think Son had to prove himself. He kept, like, for so long, he was always on the team sheet, no matter what. And then the second,
I think just because he's had, like, such an off start to the season, I mean, and rightfully so, he's allowed that, because when there's someone who constantly, like, is scoring goals for your team, like last season was, like, tied for Golden Boot winner. Majority of the goals scored off his weak foot, like, basically, like, doing everything he can to make sure your team is scoring. I think he's allowed that beginning of the season break and readjustment to a newer style team that he has now. That's the one person, in my opinion, that's allowed, like, hey, like, get off the leash a bit, give him a break.
Yeah, because the amount of times, I'll say even last season, in the season before when Harry Kane got injured, he's not even really a number 9, he's like a winger, and they put him up there and he was still scraping out wins, like single-handedly by himself. And I wouldn't have think he got a hat trick. I flipped through the channel, and I was like, because I was still kind of catching up on watching that Newcastle Bournemouth game.
Yeah.
So when I slipped over, I already knew Leicester was going to lose. Leicester,
I knew they were going to lose, but I didn't think it was going to be a 6-2. I mean, because they lost 5-2 to Brighton, and I thought, like, oh, okay, you know what? We'll fix ourselves up a bit. Let's bounce back. Nope, no bounce back whatsoever.
And then when he just got that sub, and he got like a hat trick in 12, 13 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, here's the thing. I think benching Heung-min Son does a lot for that Spurs team, because if everyone sees like, oh wow, like they're benching Sonny, like this guy has been like a mainstay for how long, like then it'll be like make everyone else think like, oh, then like I can get benched as well, like I'm replaceable. So it makes everyone else like work harder. I think that's such a Conte type style of coaching that is really beneficial to the rest of the team.
And also just shows like the depth of their bench.
Yeah.
That they can just bench a player like that. And because another team can, the psychologically, if they're like 1-0 up and then they bring someone else on and they bring on Sonny, they're just like, oh man, now this guy got fresh legs. We've been playing for like 60 minutes straight. So it can really like do another team bad mentally. I mean,
especially with how much their defense has been slacking lately, with losing Wesley Fofana, having injuries, having players like Soyuncu not really performing. Leicester, I think, haven't been helped out in the transfer market personally. Of course, with losing players like Kasper Schmeichel has been such a big part of that team for God knows how long. But then it's also not helping not having a manager that's good enough, in my opinion. Like I don't think Brendan Rodgers was ever the manager to bring Leicester to a different level, ever.
Yeah, but then I look at it, I'm like, who else is gonna come to like Leicester?
I mean, here's the thing. Here's the thing I always talk about, because if you see Leicester's recruitment, they're always spot on. Like with any player they bring in players like James Maddison, Patson Daka, bringing in the Ndidis, bringing in the Fofanas. Because Fofana, think about it, this is only going to be his second actual playing season in the Prem, because last season, ACL, season before that was his first season playing in the Prem. So for him to be sold for $80+ million, and that's another thing. Any manager that goes there knows they're going to have financial backing, because that club is always in the green when it comes to the transfer market.
Yeah, and every time they replace a player, they get a player that's like somewhat a little bit, not like the same level, but a little bit below that can probably get to that same level.
Yeah, they always find the raw talent, 110%. But then again, I make that point with Brendan Rodgers because when I'm trying to think of the right way to explain it, because most fans can be like, oh, you just don't like Brendan Rodgers. Like, that's not the case. I just don't think that with Leicester, who has shown they can be on the cusp of being a top 4, top 6 side. Like, they've won the Prem. Like, they've made it to top 6 numerous times. Like, they're not just a basic low-level threat. It's a good team. Yeah, it's a team that has a lot of potential. And I think when it comes to Brendan Rodgers, you just see that there's two things. One, there's never a consistent style with him. Like, there's a different formation week in, week out, and there's no specific play that you see his team, like, endure or that they process with, because a lot of times it's just either finding a certain player, spreading it out, or in the defense praying that Johnny Evans and Wilfred Ndidi saves you. Like, that's what it's looked like. And then hoping that Vardy is still old enough to keep running, like, young enough to keep running, you know?
But it's just, I look at the team, and they have, like you said, Jamie Vardy, Yuri Tillemans, Jason Madison. They got Harvey Barnes. They have Wilfred Ndidi. They have James Justin, who got called up to England.
Yeah, he's a left back. I'm intrigued with him.
They have a pretty decent midfield with Dennis Pra. They have
but Dennis Pryor, that's...
Oh, what were you going to say? Dennis Pryor?
Yeah, Dennis Pryor. I'm trying to think, because he's good, but then again, I think that's where... I think he falls under that category of replacing somebody that is a little lesser talent. So I thought he was brought in to replace the Tielemans because they just assumed they were going to lose him. But then now Tielemans is still there, and you already know that the player doesn't want to be there, so now it's throwing off the dynamics within the team, you know?
Yeah, you can tell there's not a happy camp behind that.
No.
There's because everyone starts losing, then people can start blaming each other.
Yeah, but also it doesn't help when the manager is just like week in, week out in interviews, just like, yeah, this team is just like not good enough, like they suck, and it's just like
a player hears that, they're gonna be like, oh.
Well, when they're home and they're watching Monday Night Football and they see the replays of Brendan Rodgers saying that, like, how is that gonna help you? You know,
doesn't help at all.
Yeah, that's why I personally don't think he's not good enough to be managing this Leicester side.
How many times they lost, like, what, 6 times now? Like 6.
I don't think there's only been 6 games in the Prem, no? 6 or 7 games.
I think so. I don't know if they drew.
I thought they drew one and then they lost the rest.
I have to check that out real quick because they're 20th.
Yeah, they're bottom of the league because they haven't won anything.
They've drew once, lost 6 times, conceded 22 goals.
Yeah, they have a negative 12 goal differential.
That's terrible.
Here's the thing: the sad thing is that Nottingham Forest has a win over Leicester. And Nottingham Forest's only issue is that they're vetting in 20 players that they bought in the window.
That's insane. It's going to take a long time for everyone to gel together.
Yeah, but then I think the precedent that's been set with teams like Newcastle last season, where they lost 14 games in the beginning of the season, and they were able to bounce back and stay up to 13th and 12th. I think with a Nottingham, that's what they're hoping for. They're hoping just to have a vetting period, letting players adjust to the league, figure out their positions and everything, and then they think they're going to have that bounce back like how Newcastle
I think,
did.
For Steve Cooper, who's the manager over there, I think his main objective is don't get relegated. Well, you can end up in 17th place, just don't get relegated.
If there's one manager you want to have with random loans and a whole bunch of new signings and stuff, it's Steve Cooper. That's what he did to get himself to the Prem, right, last season, bringing in players like James Gardner and co from a whole bunch of different youth setups. Like James Gardner was a Manchester United youth player. Played really well under him. Like, he can develop young talent very, very well. That's the one manager I would trust to do that. I mean, Man City 3-0, is Holland just a different beast? I mean, granted, Wolves had a red card, right?
Yeah.
But within that first minute, that Grealish goal, bro.
Yeah, it was so good.
That De Bruyne ball. Oh, my God.
That guy is just a different level. I don't understand. I have to, take it back because I remember I was telling friends when Darwin Nunez came to Liverpool and Erling Haaland came. I thought that Erling Haaland was going to be minimum 10 goals this season. I was like, yeah.
No way.
I swear that my other friend was like, yo, he's going to get 30, 35 more. And I was like, nah, Darwin Nunez is. Because I seen him at the Portuguese league. He was good. Yeah. And but then once I saw that game, once he was playing Crystal Palace and he got that head when he
got that red card?
Red card from the defender. I think it was Anderson that he hit. I think he headbutt him or I think it was something that he did. And once I saw that, I'm like, And then I saw Haaland play. I was like, yeah.
Of course, like, look, so on Matchweek here, we predicted that Haaland was going to score a minimum of 17 goals. Minimum. We thought that was because the Golden Boot winner got the Golden Boot for 17 goals.
Yeah.
We thought, okay, Haaland's definitely getting the minimum right there. Like, that's the bar, and he's going to blow it out of the water. Like, that City team, just having De Bruyne and Erling Haaland in your team will win you any game. Or you will not drop points, like significant points, with those two in your team.
I think he's gonna get 40 overall this whole season.
40, I don't know.
I think because my man has like 12 goals now, right? 13 goals.
I know, but like, here's the thing: can you keep scoring? I don't think you can keep doing back-to-back hat tricks like numerous times throughout the season. Because I think teams are going to slowly figure out how to mark out Haaland, maybe. Because obviously it's a new player in the league, and teams are going to take their prior experience against playing against a player, and then they're going to adjust. But the issue is that when you play against a City, it's like, sure, maybe you could take out a Haaland, but you're not going to take out the 9 other players they have on the field that'll score goals against you, whether it's a defender, a midfielder, or another attacker.
Yeah, it's just Man City is just too much of a well-oiled machine.
Well, I think this is going to go into our topic later we're going to discuss, but Man City have sort of gone through the tiers of becoming a top-level side, and I'll explain that later, but right now they're at, like, the pinnacle of what it means to be the top team, you know?
That's an elite team right there.
Yeah, they are. I mean, here's the thing, right? Wolves looked surprisingly better in the second half with only 10 men.
Yeah,
they only held up to only 1 goal in the second half against City, which kudos to them, but still lose a 3-0 loss.
Yeah, that Grealish goal within like the first minute was just crazy. But Wolves is in trouble too. Like the way they play, I don't know.
I mean, Maz, shout out to you, but like,
yeah, shout out Maz
because he loves Wolves. But I said this from the get go: Wolves has no attacking threat in that team. Raul Jimenez just isn't the same. Gonzalo Guedes, he's not going to get you goals.
No, he wasn't barely getting goals in La Liga.
Yeah, like he's not a goal scorer. He's a creator. And then you have Pedro Neto, and you can't expect everything to
fall onto him.
Well, yeah,
he's only like 21, 22 years old.
Yeah, like he's a talent, and you're sadly going to lose him within the next 2 years and get bought by somebody. But you can't expect Pedro Neto just to be scoring you goals nonstop. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, and now they got Diego Costa.
Yeah, I mean,
I started to laugh. I was like, I mean, they need someone like that. I think in the locker room, like
they
you need
do.
someone with that guile that rouses people up and stuff.
But
like
also,
that.
I think also what was it, the Sesko guy they bought in the summer, that like 6'7" striker that got injured.
From Bundesliga.
I forgot. Yeah, I think the Bundesliga guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's injured right now.
Yeah.
I think honestly not having him does make a difference, because we're not seeing Adama Traore play. That's a big difference as well. Someone who did very, very well at Barcelona. I think again this is also a manager issue. I just don't think that Bruno Lage is just the guy for them. He really isn't.
Not at all, because the way he was playing at Benfica.
Yeah, but it was it was his first ever outing though. That was his rookie season as a coach.
But he was doing pretty well with Benfica. Like they had him playing wide, or maybe maybe he doesn't have the players to facilitate that. Or I think he does. I think a lot of these Portuguese players are very technical.
Well, I think some of these managers though, when you're at a Wolves, you have to sort of adjust your style with the personnel that you have, right?
Plus, it's the Premier League. It's
the Premier League. I mean, you're gonna need an Adama. He might not be the best technically, but he is a brute. He's a big guy. Let's not forget. He's yoked.
Yeah, and he keeps saying it's I don't lift weights. I don't.
He says
that. I was like, I don't know, man. The dude is huge.
Yeah, I mean, and then also letting go of someone like a Connor Cody, I think was a big hit to this side.
That was the captain. I don't even know why they let that go.
I don't know. I mean, now look at him at Everton. He's looking class right now. The other thing is that he's trying to switch them to a 4-3-3 when they're so used to playing at a 5 at the back. And I just don't expect this team to be able to... the two center backs, just they're too youthful to be expected to handle a 4 at the back job that easily. like Max Kilman is a young guy. He came up. He's only 25. He came up from the
championship. I think?
No. Well, he was originally actually in the England national futsal team.
Oh yeah.
He came up from futsal, which is impressive on his own right. But then come into play in the big league, and then you also have Nathan Collins, who is 21 years old from Ireland, just a young lad. That's right, young lad. Let's go.
From Burnley.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that they're taking the wrong approach.
And I think this way it keeps going, I think he might get the sack.
I mean, hey, my Premier League predictions: Wolves were getting relegated. So,
oh, you think so?
I said that because I saw these glaring issues, but everyone's like, "Oh no, bro, they brought in Castillo Guedes, bro. They're gonna be okay."
No, I knew that. Like, you can see the issues from last season, where like they started just slowly crumbling away. But
I think that Bruno Lage benefited by how much of Nuno's like old philosophy was still in those players, like how long they were like trained under him. You still saw those spurts of Nuno ball under those players, and I think that's where Bruno Lage got lucky to be in order to really have that like effect and be beneficial in that regard.
I think on a side note, I think with Nuno, I think he regrets leaving Wolves. I think he should have stayed there like 2-3 more seasons longer, because he was actually getting them into Europe.
Yeah,
and he was doing well, and then now he's playing ball in with Saudi Arabia now.
Yeah,
so like his stock completely crumbled after Tottenham.
Well, yeah, because I mean that's also Tottenham's fault. Why are you hiring Nuno when you say you want to play a free-flowing attacking football? Like, that's the opposite of Nuno. Nuno is a Mourinho-like defensive coach. Oh, God. All right. I mean, Bournemouth 1-1 to Newcastle. I mean, obviously, getting rid of Scott Parker, your Bournemouth team's going to play better. Because Scott Parker is a horrendous coach, plain and simple.
Yeah, he's the coach that you need to... he's good enough to bring you up into from the Championship to the Premier League.
I mean, he's just a Championship manager. Like, that. Some guys, they're just going to be at that level until they learn how to get better.
And
like,
he's still young. He's like 39.
Yeah, but here's the thing, like Eddie Howe, right? Eddie Howe.
He took Bournemouth from League 2 all the way to Premier League.
And then like he was in the Prem for like 3 seasons, and they finally dropped, and he got the sack. And instead of going into a new job right away, he took like 2 or 3 years of just learning, like going to other clubs, like sitting in there sort of like an intern and just like watching clubs and like seeing their philosophies. And we see it now because this is a whole new Eddie Howe under at Newcastle, right?
Yeah, and he has the money now too.
Plus he has the financial backing. I mean, granted, here's the thing: when you play against a Bournemouth and you're in Newcastle now, there's sort of that expectation of like, hey, you should be getting results now, sort of. Like they're on that level that Leicester was, I think, like 2 seasons ago. Like we're expecting more from you now.
I mean, they drew like a couple times. I know that, like they drew a couple.
Well, Leicester,
times.
like Newcastle only have 5. Yeah. Have 1 win, 5 draws, and 1 loss. And granted, one of those draws was against Man City, where at one point they were looking like the better team. Yeah, and then Erling Haaland decided, like, okay, I'm having fun now, score some goals.
Because they drew to Crystal Palace, they drew to Wolves, and they drew to Brighton.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think they're going to stay up. I think like maybe like 10th, 11th, 12th place for them. But I think what Newcastle's doing, I think they're doing the same thing that Man City did when they got money. They got like a decent level like manager. Not saying like Eddie Howe's like, I don't think he's like top tier yet, but I think once he gets that foundation like all nice and running, then they're gonna go get like a manager of a higher caliber to be like, yeah, we have this money, now bring us into like Europe. So I think they're gonna do the same route as like City did. Yeah,
I mean, but there's also that issue of having to rely on players like St. Maximin all the time. Not like, because here's the thing, he has the lineup, but he doesn't have the bench at the current moment, right? Like, he's sort of like trying to figure that out. Because in order to be a great team in the Premier League, you have to have a solid 11 and a solid bench as well. And when you have players like Matty Willock still playing for you, like who was under the old guard, wasted $35 million on him, like, what do you expect?
Joe Willock.
His brother Matty Willock. My apologies.
But
I mean, yeah, like when you expect, like, like he's a solid player, obviously. But then when you're bringing in the likes of Bruno Guimaraes,
national like mainstay right now.
but like you also talk about him at Lyon. Like he was playing in the Champions League. He was bossing up midfields in the Champions League. It's not like he's just some Joe Schmo they bought from the Championship.
He was like running the. He's like that. He's gonna be that midfield mainstay for at least in a couple years over there at Newcastle. They're gonna start
100%.
building around him and stuff.
There's also another team that's sort of performing above expectations, and that's Everton against West Ham. Now, West Ham, what do you think the issue is with West Ham right now? Because they brought in Lucas Paqueta, they have Jared Bowen, they have Declan Rice, they brought in Skamaka as a striker, they brought in Kerrer at center back. I mean, they also brought in like Dwight. They've also brought in Cornet from Burnley. They got Emerson. They still have the likes of Craig Dawson and stuff on the bench. Like where do we see like them finding their place? Because I don't think you're gonna win anything if you're still relying on a Pablo Fornals and a Mikel Antonio.
Well, they got like Gianluca Scamata from.
Yeah.
They got him to kind of replace. I don't know if replace Antonio, but honestly, I don't even know what's going on over there. Like the past two, they almost got into Champions League. I remember that.
Yeah.
And then West Ham in Champions League.
They made the semifinals for Europa League.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know if they're still like on that high from like going so far, which they shouldn't. But I think I know about Lucas Paqueta is he's kind of like an ego player from what I've read.
Well, him and
they're like best friends.
Yeah,
that's why. So maybe Lucas is like, man, I should have went to Newcastle.
Maybe
he just went with that. But I think he wanted to be in London. Being compare Newcastle to London, it's like not
because like if you watch the game at the weekend, like Paqueta looked solid. I just think that Jared Bowen looks a little off, and it still seems like there's that. I'm trying to think of the word. It still looks like there's this like eerie feeling of like what's going on with Declan still. Like that's still, it looks like it's still there. Players feel like, so it's sort of like in the games they've been playing, it looks like they're trying to adjust not having Declan in the game even though he's playing at that moment.
Yeah, but Declan, I think after this World Cup, I think the people are gonna start buying him after. I think by next summer, I think they'll put up like the 70 million, that English tax, that 80 million,
or the $100 million, because don't forget it's 80 million pounds.
Yeah,
so
the $100 million.
Yeah, exactly.
You heard the price about Jude Bellingham?
Jude Bellingham is
so good, beyond good. I think Dortmund's like minimum 150 million euros.
Yeah,
because he has no release clause.
Yeah, but when does his contract expire?
I think maybe 2-3 years from now. I think next summer will be 2 years.
Because if he's that young, let him play for 2 years at Dortmund. Why? Not like it's not gonna help your team getting him right away.
I think Liverpool is gonna get him.
Well, I think
Liverpool has to reset that whole midfield.
So Liverpool is gonna be in the next discussion. Because before we talk about that, is there any other games you want to talk about on the weekend?
I mean, that Nottingham Forest one.
I feel like we didn't even talk about Everton enough. I think Everton bringing back Idrissa Gana Gueye, Alex Iwobi finding this new he's finding this new role where he's playing as like a number 8 now,
and he's so good,
and he looks solid in the midfield. And then bringing in the likes of Connor Cody and James Tarkowski as their center back options.
Those are very good center backs, very reliable, very good. They really don't even get injured.
I mean, also getting Dwight McNeil from Burnley, I feel like that's a nice outlet to have. To not always have to rely on like Anthony Gordon and Damari Gray. Like it's nice to have different outlets and different options.
They got that new kid from Leo, Onana.
Yeah,
he's very good.
But also, James Garner, why is he on the bench? He should be starting.
I think
that's the one piece of business I was upset about. The fact that United let him go. So angry about it. I was so angry because. He just, man, he was just
he's a good midfielder.
But like, dude, like I wouldn't be saying this if like not even just as because he was he's a United youth or whatever. Like his season in playing for Nottingham was just so impressive that I think teams are just overlooking it. Like the fact that a player was able to do that in the Championship It's the equivalent of what Jude Bellingham was able to do for, what was it, Bristol?
No, Birmingham.
Birmingham. Yeah, Birmingham City. They retired his number, bro, at 16 years old. Because of what he was able to do in that one season. Like, think about that.
And the thing is, I remember when I watched sometimes the championship, and I was really interested watching like Nottingham, like how good they were. He played like almost every game.
Yeah.
That season, like, and he was scoring goals.
And just so the audience understands, the championship season is like 40 plus games.
And there's games every 2-3 days.
Yeah, so what, in the championship, each team plays about 45, 48 games.
Yeah, and out of like those 24 teams, maybe like 15 of them are good enough to go up. So like every game is like a final.
We say 15 of them can go up, but like realistically,
maybe like I'll say like out of that 15, maybe I know 2 are like the most standout, but a lot of those other teams, if you look at the table all the time, they're always like a point off or 2 points off. So even a draw is like a loss.
I think the thing is that like because of how much money is being put in the Premier League now, the gap between a Premier League level side and then a championship level side is going to keep widening and widening and widening and widening until it just gets like superiorly ridiculous. Because look at Bournemouth in the beginning of the season. Like,
I mean, they didn't even spend no money. Like, I could see on players.
Because I could see from the Bournemouth side of it, just like, hey, like, let's get this money from the Prem, just take these losses on the chin, make our money, and when we get back, we build. That's it.
At least with Nottingham Forest, the guy who owns it, he also owns Olympiacos. So he was probably like, and Nottingham Forest is like, they actually won Champions League twice back in the day.
Oh yeah,
they're
back in the day. Yeah,
they're actually like a big like.
If we're talking about historically, Nottingham Forest is historically one of the best teams to play in England. Yeah.
So I think they want to stay up. I think they're gonna stay up. I don't think they're really gonna.
I don't think they're gonna. I think just because of
all the new players they got, all those 20 players.
Jay Ling's my guy.
Yeah.
Am I the only person that loves Jesse Lingard?
Like,
you know what it is? I think
TikTok player.
Get out of here, bro. No, I like he should. Here's the thing: if it was as soon as the season ended, like going into the next season, 100% I agreed. But the fact that he was at United for too long, I think that's when he needed to go to a new club. I think Newcastle would have been a better fit for him than a Nottingham at the current moment. But imagine being known as the player who kept Nottingham Forest up from the drop, right? Like, I think that was the more appetizing thing for him, was that would you rather go to a Newcastle where they have a lot of money, they're going to finish middle of the table, or would you much rather go to a Nottingham Forest, take a chance, and keep them up? And a lot of people are saying, oh, the paycheck, but realistically, anywhere Jesse Lingard would have went, he would have brought in a substantial paycheck.
Yeah, and it's like a 1-year contract for him, right? Like one, and he's getting, I don't know if he's getting paid the same amount he is at.
I think it's 150K.
Which is a lot.
Yeah, but that's also pounds. Yeah. So let's convert that to America. It's probably like $200,000.
Yeah, so he's doing well.
I mean, you're like.
Some people think he went for the money. I don't know if he really went.
But like,
there for the money
if he was to go somewhere for the money, he would have gone to Newcastle, where like for every 5 goals you get like a $10 million bonus or something, like because of the money they have, like.
So.
And if it was also about the money, he would have just re-signed for Manchester United and stayed on the bench.
But I think he wanted to leave there. I think he was.
But that's what I'm saying. If this is a money incentive move from him, then that's where I see that going. But someone like a Jesse Lingard, he wants to play. Like, he wants to feel like a valuable player. And I think at Nottingham Forest, he sees himself as a valuable player and like as an important player. Like, oh, if I do this right, then this whole club will be going in the right direction. Yeah. I think that's what he's looking at. Mm-hmm. Shout out Jesse Lingard.
Jay Lings.
If you want to get interviewed, Matchweek's here for you.
Yes, sir.
Please. Please. So then, was there any other games around Europe that you were sort of interested in at all?
I think one that made me laugh a little bit was Sheriff against did Sheriff play Manuel? That was like an older game.
Yeah, they played the Europa League on Thursday.
No, I just laughed. It was like the way the Sheriff's stadium looks, and they have like this weird Soviet Union like apartment complex building
dude.
Over it. And you just see Ronaldo just like looking around.
He's like, where am I, bro?
I'm really here right now.
Yeah, but Real Madrid was there last season for the Champions League, so
I can say that. But like I don't know, Sheriff is like, I don't know, that whole team is just weird. It's like owned by this weird like conglomerate, I think, over there. I don't know what's going on.
No, United game, I mean,
They won.
And it was a solid team performance, but yet again, I'm just worried about what the team looks like when Cristiano Ronaldo's in the team. Because, like, for some reason, we just look way different every time he's in the lineup, and I don't understand it.
Different, like
the
the next level up?
No, like, different, like, we play different. Like, when we played against Arsenal, we had a free-flowing, like, front line, constantly moving around, and the reason why we were able to score against you was because every time the players were rotating in and out, all that space was separated between Gabriel and Saliba slowly for just a one runner to go into the middle and just score a goal. Oh, he's early. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a guest here today. Hello, how we doing? Let's get him on and going. You're a little early. I was expecting you at 11, but it's fine. Thank you, Ben. Appreciate you. How are we doing today?
Doing great, thank you.
Here, if you don't mind just taking a seat right there.
Yeah, sure.
We got the mic on. We're currently live.
Okay, should I?
Oh yeah, you can talk to the microphone if you want. You just make sure you can pull it down, grab it from here.
Thank you.
There we go.
Mm-hmm.
How are we doing? If you don't mind just introducing yourself to the audience, it'd be very appreciative.
Sure. My name is Jaime Grinberg. I am a professor of educational foundations here at Montclair State University.
Nice. Now, just to give us a little bit of a preference, like how long have you really been invested in the game? Like how long have you been watching like football for?
Since I have memory. I was born. I think that my first toy that I received, that I have memory of, is what you call in English soccer, football. A football ball. Right?
Don't worry. When you're here, you can say football. We have the proper terminology here. We're all good.
Yeah. So since I have memory, I have been playing, and I was lucky to be, a member of the team of my high school. At some point, we play. Then those were difficult times. I was born in Argentina, and I lived also in Uruguay for many, many years. So not that I was great, but I
mean, I don't know. I mean, like a lot of South Americans say, "Oh, I wasn't that good at football." Meanwhile, they'll pull up to like Sunday League and just like sauce you very easily, no matter what age.
Yeah, well, because I mean, the same way that an American kid will start with the baseball and the globes and this type of thing. That's what we did, and more than that, and it's probably a different time, different generation, but we would end school and we would go, and play soccer, and not officially. We'd take off our shirts, so one team would be shirtless and the other team would have a shirt on, and then we would just improvise some goalies there and just play. And if there was nobody to stand on the goalie, we would make a reduced, smaller size goalie, so that would be a little bit more difficult to just shoot from a distance and convert, since there is no goalkeeper. And that was part of the game. On weekends, Sunday mornings, I used to go, when I was living in Montevideo in Uruguay as an adolescent, we will meet together, take the bus, walk a couple of kilometers to reach this place that have some very good facilities, and we will be playing soccer since, 9:30, 10 in the morning for a good number of hours. I was a defender. I played defense mostly, and oftentimes on the side. I mean, either left or right, although
so you're like a Zanetti. Okay, I see you.
So, but those were also different times with soccer. I guess that... the game now, first of all, it's much faster than what used to be.
Oh yeah, of course,
much faster. And we, it was fun, but even it was just among friends. It was either the ball or the player. The two together will not go through. Try not to injure anyone, but just
I relate on that one 100%. I can relate. So here's a question that we have for you. So obviously you come from Argentina and Uruguay.
And Uruguay, sí.
So who did you support in South America? Were you a Boca Juniors, or did you have to support
Plate.
from River Plate, Uruguay?
Wonderful questions. Yes. Okay. When I was younger, I was a fan, really. Right now, I really value good soccer. So my team in Argentina, I am from Buenos Aires, was River Plate.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was for River, I think that just to be a contraire, right? To go against my family, that all of them were Boca. So if I will go to the to the stadium, they will tell me just stay quiet, don't say a word, and don't celebrate, okay?
Yeah,
I know,
100%.
and it gets real serious down there.
Very,
Very-
too serious.
Yeah.
But as time went by, and I went to see many times Boca and many other teams, I mean, I enjoy the game. So I value good soccer. Who would say nowadays in Argentina, in the local tournament, the Torneo Federal, you have a team from Tucumán, which is a province in the north of Argentina. It's on the top, and they are playing really good soccer. Who would say, right? Who knew? But so you do have sometimes good surprises. I still remember a few years ago there was a team from Córdoba, another part of Argentina, Belgrano, that now is playing on the second division. They had magnificent soccer for a couple of years. They did great and everything. In Montevideo, I was really a big-time fan of Peñarol.
Oh yeah,
Which
a lot
was
of good players came out from there. Yeah.
Very good players, and they, I mean, growing up, that was the time that Peñarol have won the Libertadores, which is the big tournament.
Yeah, I was about to say,
That's like
because
that's the
so
Champions League.
as someone who's from like South America,
Yeah.
which competition would you prefer watching? Is it the Sudamericana or is it the Copa Libertadores?
I would like the Libertadores.
Libertadores?
That
Okay.
I think that it's the most.
Is that like the most
competitive.
prestigious? Yeah,
I think so. Of course, you have the national teams competitions, right? Kind of the Copa America, but it's played every few years. But every year you have. If you have the opportunity to watch this year, the Flamenco, the team from.
Oh yeah, we
Flamenco.
we were actually just discussing it because at Arsenal they have a few players like Gabi Jesus,
Right.
Martinelli, and Gabriel in the back line,
Yeah.
and we were saying how even though these players are having a spectacular season in the Premier League, like English football considered to be like the top,
Right.
we have players from Flamengo getting the call ups over them for this upcoming national team break.
Yeah, well, sometimes there are other factors that play into who gets called in.
Oh
or
yeah,
not,
of
but-
course,
but-
yeah,
of
yeah.
course.
There's
But-
definitely politics.
Yeah,
to it,
yeah, but yeah, if you watch one of their games, I think they can compete with any European team at a very high level.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, because
Flamengo's been
we
consistent.
see it all over Europe now. This this South American revolution. Like if you look at a team like Manchester United,
Yeah.
half of their players are South American players.
Alessandro
Yeah.
Martinez.
Yeah, even if you look at Man City, one of the greatest players to ever play is an Argentinian, and is Sergio Kun Aguero.
Yeah, and talking about Manchester, the other Manchester, right, the United. If you look at, there is a kid there that is not being played now. There are
Oh,
two.
Palestri, I know who you're talking
Palestri.
about.
Oh
yeah,
the young guy.
Oh
yeah.
man,
I love
good.
watching him play.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm a big Manchester United fan, so don't worry, I know. Don't worry.
yeah. So you have that kid, and there is an Argentinian kid. Escapes my name, his last name right now. My mind, I don't remember his last name. He's young, also. He's 18 or something like that. That he's
Argentinian and Manchester. Oh, Garnacho.
Garnacho.
Yes.
Sorry, yeah,
Garnacho.
great, wonderful.
There's Garnacho, Facundo Palestri, but then you
Palestri.
also have Lisandro Martinez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a good defender.
Very good
Yeah.
He's a
defender.
good defender. Now, City is, to my taste, I mean, and I don't know which teams you like.
I'm
I enjoy.
I'm Arsenal.
I enjoy. Well, this year Arsenal
No,
really.
Well,
but
I mean, here's the thing:
But
like,
City-
who cannot enjoy watching City right now when you have Kevin De Bruyne in that midfield? And I have a question: do you think Erling Haaland's like actually a human? Like, like, do you think he's a real person? Because the fact that he's already at like what 13 Premier League goals and we're only 7 games in.
or 14, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, 14. Yeah.
It's just amazing, this young fellow. He has the physicality that you need to be a number 9 in the traditional sense. I mean, he reminds me in some ways Ibrahimovic, right?
Yeah, Zlatan.
But I think he will be better.
Well, that's the crazy thing is that like he has the physique of Zlatan, but he has like the footballing brain of Van Persie is the best way to explain him.
That's a great analogy because he can see the game in ways. I mean, he predicts where his teammates are moving and where the ball will.
Yeah, the way his movement in the box.
I mean, obviously the quality you have at City, right? When you have Kevin De Bruyne just serving you balls on like a silver platter, right? When you have someone who's that great, like
you got Grealish on the wing, you got Foden, you got Bernardo Silva, Rodri.
Yeah,
so
Calvin Phillips like on the bench.
Yeah, Calvin Phillips on the bench.
He's just sitting there.
Yeah, you have there's this young kid also new to City.
Alvarez. He's looking really good
from
too.
River Plate.
From River Plate.
He's really good.
I've seen him play many times because of the Libertadores. His pressing is fantastic.
Yeah.
His timing, I mean, and he can dribble and everything, but in a team like City, you have to pass more than dribble because otherwise.
It's also their off the ball movement, right? At City, like how you're able to place yourself in the field to really pull players apart is really what makes a big dynamic football.
And he has 2 goals. I think he came off the bench. He has 2 goals so far, so he's doing. He's in a good team. He's going to develop well. He's
absolutely really well. A fantastic coach, maybe the best in a long time, and he also presses the goalkeepers. I mean, one of those goals was just stole the ball from the goalkeeper. City is enjoyable, but I think. I mean, of course, I like South American soccer a lot and the style, and I don't mind playing a little bit slower either, kind of just passing the ball, or like the Brazilians, what they call the jogo bonito, which is a beautiful game. But there is something about the Premier League, right? I think that they are just. I mean, any team can beat any other team any single day.
Especially this is probably the most enticing season you could watch in a very long time because you can go from City having a blowout against Bournemouth to drawing against Newcastle, right? Then that's someone who we value as one of the like better teams like in the world at the current moment.
Or like the same thing with Manchester United. They lose 3 times in a row. Then
2 times. Hey, whoa. 2 times. Give us a break. You just lost to us, guys, so calm it down there a bit, all right?
All right. 2 times in a row, and then Arsenal on the top, and then they just destroyed them like 3-0.
Yeah.
Like it just, it's when this is the only league where the worst team on the bottom can beat the top team.
Absolutely.
And you're never safe when it's even.
I mean, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I've had this hot take for a long time. Say I'm crazy for this. Do you think Ángel Di Maria is one of the most undervalued players in the Argentinian national team?
I do. He is a central piece. He's so important for Messi.
Oh my God!
He's still. I mean, he's 35 or so, and he has the speed of 25 years old.
Yeah.
He finishes very, very well. I guess I don't know what's going on Juventus now. Juventus is not doing great.
It's the way they play.
Well, no. Also, I think the issue is that they're bringing in players that aren't for the manager,
right?
Because you have young players like a Filip Kostic, a Dusan Vlahovic. You have an Ángel Di Maria in the mix now.
Right.
You have
Pogba that came back.
Yeah, Pogba came back. You have Weston McKennie as an option in the midfield. You know, like there's all these rotating in and out. You're finally having your first season without Chiellini, who's now at LAFC. So I think it's adjustment period, and it's not the right manager for that period.
Yeah, and talking about Sudamericans in Juventus, they just go from started in the Argentinian national team.
Yeah, was he? Is he on loan or is it?
On loan.
Yeah, it's a loan option to buy. I think, right?
Yeah. So I think that Di Maria is an extraordinary, and he has been all these years. He's part of that generation with Agüero, Mascherano, really excellent players. They didn't have the consistency. They are.
I think defensively is the only problem because now you have this new guard of defenders that are spectacular.
Yeah.
But I feel like the midfield's sort of slacking. But then your attack also looks great when you have players like Martinez from Inter Milan.
Yeah.
You have Paulo Dybala. You have Lionel Messi. You have Angel Di Maria. You have Angel Correa from Atletico Madrid. The talent is there.
The talent is there, totally.
Especially for this World Cup coming up. This is like the golden generation right now for Argentina.
And the and the staff, the coaching, the coaches, they all have experience in World Cups and playing in the national teams. They are very player friendly.
Is for Argentina is Santiago Solari there right now for the national team?
No. It's Scaloni is the
okay.
And all the players love him. They all like him a lot.
But they have also in the staff, they have, for instance, Walter Samuel, who played in Italy for so many years, a great defender. They have El Payaso, his last name escaped my mind now. He was also a terrific player. He played for River Plate for a while too. And but going back to what I wanted to say earlier about Flamengo, if you see that team, you enjoy soccer as much as.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they have an Uruguayan player there that is called the Arrascaeta. And if you have a chance to see some of his plays, he's a playmaker, but he also makes goals. He's just incredible.
So besides like the South American football, do you pay attention? So obviously you pay attention to the Premier League, but do you pay attention to the Serie A or anywhere else at all?
I pay attention to Italy and to Spain. On the side, a little bit of Portugal and Mexico.
Okay, Liga MX.
And of course, I used to be much closer to the to our league, right? To the
MLS.
When my son, who now is a grown up, they were playing at the Giants Stadium, and we have season tickets, and we used to go and see the Red Bulls.
Oh yeah, that was before Red Bull Arena. That's crazy. I remember that too.
A long time ago.
Yeah, so we got to see many other teams, and there's so much young talent, but then it's not nurtured enough, I think. And now it have changed. Now
because when you have players like Ricky Puig from Barcelona, now he's playing at LA Galaxy.
He's doing really well
you have the
there.
likes of Alphonso Davies making the transition from
Vancouver.
Vancouver to Bayern now. You have the likes of Tyler Adams, New York native.
And goes to Red Bull, then goes to the other Red Bull in Germany.
And then now he's at Leeds.
Oh yeah, he's at Leeds.
He's at Leeds with Jesse Marsh.
Well, I have high expectations for the national team. I think there is a chance to do well.
Yeah,
I like, because they are playing not only with passion and with speed, they are also playing with the brain.
I think that's the thing that's been lacking for a long time, right? Because at this current moment, if you actually look it up, the United States coaching is probably one of the most top tier coaching programs you can have right now.
Right.
Because if you were to go get your national license for just the youth level, it's the equivalent to what some of these semi-pro managers over in Europe are getting right now.
Yeah, and I think that one advantage so far from that's my perception here in the U.S., it's that the staffing coach is given credit. They are not under the same pressure, say, that the coach of the Mexico national team is. In Mexico, it looks like you have 20 million head coaches, right? I mean, everyone knows what should be going on, who should be playing, in what position, and how they should be playing. And I think that hinders really the possibilities of having the consistency, the pressures to. I mean, the coach, who happens to be Argentinian, and he lost a couple of games or didn't win a couple of games, and they are calling about, they want to fire him already.
Yeah,
No, but he was good in the MLS. I think he won with Atlanta United. I remember that. That's how he kind of got the job.
Yeah, and he got 1 year coaching, Martino. He got 1 year coaching Barcelona, but that didn't work out. I mean, well, after... what do you want? I mean, after that team of Barcelona, right, with the coaching, with Messi, with
I think the biggest problem with Barcelona is all the people who are above the manager, because the players aren't an issue right now. In fact, if anything, the players are what's the plus side of Barcelona at the current moment. They've lost Messi, but to be able to bring in about 20 new players in the window, like the likes of Jules Koundé or Rafinha, Kessié, Lewandowski. Like, the ability to bring in new players isn't the issue. It's everything above, because when you have someone like a Frankie de Jong, who's being threatened to cut his wages.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Like, it's a contract.
And he
like,
wants to stay. That's
the crazy part. Like,
yeah.
Like, I would have loved to have him at United, but I would never want a player to be forced to go to a club because their club doesn't want to pay them.
That's what happened with Arthur Milo, because they did that swap with Juventus. I remember that. It was like a weird. Now it came out a couple of months ago, a year ago. It was an illegal swap. It was like 80 million that they didn't have or they had on the books. So
you wanna know what's been a little illegal, bro? How, like, I swear Alvaro Morata's like transfers is like money laundering. I don't think he's going to clubs because explain to me how he's going to a different club every time for $50 million. Explain. Where
he's going to top clubs all the time.
Yeah, it's like, oh,
Chelsea.
Oh, it's like, oh, Juventus got money this time around? Okay, let it go. We can give you some. Oh, Chelsea, you need some cash? We got you. We'll throw you a player. Like, that's just something that doesn't make sense to me.
Well, La Liga, it's you still have the two top teams. Real Madrid is playing incredible soccer.
And especially with the players they have coming in. When now you have a young midfield in a Orlan Tchouameni, you have a Camavinga, you have a Valverde. Yeah. It's absolutely, it's like bringing in that new guard, because now Casemiro's gone. Toni Kroos just doesn't have the legs anymore. But then Luka Modric still looks class for his age. 37, but doesn't look a day young.
He looks like he's playing like he's 22, 23 years old, the way he's running around.
And I'm going to be controversial here and say something. As much as I so much respect and admire Benzema, he was injured. And the team with Rodrigo, Valverde, and what's his name?
Vinicius?
Vinicius. I mean,
I hear what you're saying. No, it's the same thing that's going on with Manchester United right now. When you have that free flowing front line of not one set player, that's what Real Madrid was doing so well, with having a Vinny running in and out of the line, dragging players out, having a Rodrigo or a Valverde fill in. But also, I think the mistreatment of a Luka Jovic was a big problem at Real Madrid. He's someone where at Frankfurt,
he was fantastic, and he played in the
sensational, great. And then he goes to Real, has an off season, goes back to Frankfurt on loan, scores goals again. Now he's left. He's at Fiorentina
now, and he's doing pretty decent right now.
His first game he got a hat trick, no? Or was it 2 goals and assists?
I think it was 2 goals.
Yeah, he had 2 goals.
Yeah, no, there are some wonderful players. Sometimes they don't fit also in a team.
Yeah.
I mean, even with Hazard in Real Madrid, I mean, a fantastic player.
What a shame! What a shame!
He was never injured at Chelsea. The second he goes to Real, he just turns into glass.
Well, because he didn't take care of himself. Like, we saw that when he first got there. Like, when you feel like, I feel like certain players, when they feel like they've made it, they like drop a level. Like, not like a level like physically, but like a level mentally. Because a Hazard at Chelsea is like, okay, I still gotta stay fit for this season, because guess what? Without me, this team struggles. Like, when you're used to being the guy for about 10 years of your life, to not going to Real and be like, oh, I can just do whatever I want. Just walk into a team and do whatever I want.
I think he realized he wasn't the guy at Real Madrid. He was just another player, because they have other bigger kind of names.
Well, I feel like he knew that going in. That's why you saw the way how he was when he went there. Like, he
Plus
knew
he was a little bit overweight.
Well, no, I mean, I'm not saying that part, because that part's like a 50-50, because every player deserves to have a little bit of a break from their regime. But I'm saying to be able to see and be like, oh, my foot does not have to be 100% on the gas pedal. I can just go on cruise control right now.
But is there something such as too many stars in one team?
I mean, we see that at PSG, no? We see that issue.
PSG.
We see that issue where like, the last season, their transfer window, when we see they brought in a Donnarumma, Gini Wijnaldum, Sergio Ramos, Lionel Messi, we thought, oh, these 4 superstars into a team, there's no way they don't do anything. Meanwhile, Messi was struggling. Ramos can't stay fit. Donnarumma looks so out of place there. Like, the fact that he's trying to displace Keylor Navas is crazy to me.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think the difference between Real Madrid and PSG is that the players respect Real Madrid as like more of a club, and PSG is like a brand.
It's an institution, and that's what I like what PSG is doing this season. They brought in someone like Galtier, who is a more traditional French manager, focuses on bringing up youth players, actually building the team, and we see that in their performances now because for some reason now, Mbappe, Messi, and Neymar are clicking. Like everything's going right for them.
And also, I respect him as a coach when he decides to take out of the game Messi.
Yeah.
Who could dare to do that, right? But he did. And moving out Mbappe, who is his guy, right? In a way, I mean, he in a way he came to coach there because of him.
I mean, think about it. Mbappe is his assistant manager. Don't forget that. Like, that contract. You get to decide what players come to the club. You get to choose what manager comes to the club.
Director.
Man, oh man.
He makes a lot of money for that club too.
Well, I was about to say, it's like everyone was criticizing him, but if you're getting offered $300 million over 3 years, and you get to say who gets to come to your club, when you basically get that LeBron James contract equivalent at PSG, why would you go to Real Madrid? For what reason?
And that's the thing. He brought in Luis Campos, that sporting director that he was with at Monaco, and he brought in Gautier.
Yeah, that was the crazy thing. He was like,
those are his guys he's bringing in as a player.
He's legit playing Football Manager right now. He's like, here's my list. Here you go.
Yeah.
Let me know who I want, please. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, let me just, not to sound nationalistic in any possible way, but as much as I think that the U.S. national team have a good chance, I want to talk about Uruguay, which is a fantastic team.
I feel like they look solid, but I don't think they're gonna make that big of a push in the World Cup. I think just because they're in that transitional period of Luis Suarez rotating out, and they have Darwin Nunez who they're vetting in. They have a lot of young players, so I don't know where the solidity is gonna come from. Especially when you used to having a Diego Godin in that back line, right, and having such like a solid base to work off of.
Well, but I think that Godin is injured right now, and who knows when he's going to be back.
Yeah, is he even going to play? Like that's the question.
I mean, his presence is important from the psychological point of view. He's
just
a
in the
mentor
locker
to
room,
younger players,
of course.
But you have in the defense, you have someone like Araujo and Josema Jimenez from
Atlético.
Yeah, you have
Valverde in the midfield, Torreira
Bentancur, who the other day scored for Tottenham, just a magnificent goal, and he did assist also Son in another one. It really.
Well, also center back you have
Valverde. Valverde. Who's
I'm afraid to say his name because every time I say it on the show, I mess it up.
Good.
The Uruguayan center back at Barcelona, Araujo.
Yeah.
Every time I say it, we ended up making jokes. And I just call him Ray J at a certain point because I feel like my tongue always struggles with it. Araujo.
Really, they say Araujo. He started playing soccer as a forward.
Yeah,
that was. I remember when I heard
that was a crazy thing with Gerard Piqué originally. He was a striker on loan at Manchester United, and he gets sent back to Barcelona, and they're like, "Okay, we see you do that. Let's see how you do at center back."
Well, this is where good coaching comes into place, right? And when a coach can recognize the skills that the player might have, but where those skills can be best used, best taken advantage of. I give a lot of credit there to the coaching staff, and someone like Araujo is an example as Piqué. I think he is the future of the Barcelona defense. Actually, also in part the present. So the Uruguayan national team has another component that it's beyond talent, which is what in Spanish we call garra, la garra charrúa. Which is really identifies this desire. They never give up. They will fight every single ball. They will struggle. They will go behind. I mean, it is the maracanazo. I don't know if you heard of that term. When in 1950 Uruguay played the final against the Brazilian national team in the Maracanã Stadium in Brazil, 100,000 people or so, and it was going behind and then comes back and wins the World Cup. It's a small country, about 3 million people living there, and they continue to be on the top and the elite teams, national teams, and you see the players playing in Europe, in Brazil, in Mexico, here in the U.S. I mean, you have this guy Torre who is playing in Orlando, who is doing very well. They have a lot of young talent. I wouldn't discount or take kind of anything from their strength in that sense. Of course, the talent of other teams might be superior when you think about Brazil, certainly Argentina in the South American part, and I mean France. I don't know what's going to be with Spain though, but and Germany.
I mean, we also have England this time around.
Yeah.
That's.
Well, I don't think England. I think England at best is like 16 or quarterfinal.
I think they can make it, but the issue is that Southgate is the problem.
He's the main problem. He has all that talent. He's just so stubborn in the way he plays. He plays like very rigid. Well,
here's the thing: you can play at 5 at the back, but there's no reason why Harry Maguire should make it back to the national team. Well, here's my question for you: there's players who, no matter what national team they are always good for their national team, but always struggle at the club level.
Right.
So
that was with Messi, but the other way around.
Yeah. So what would you much rather prioritize? Let's say if you're a national team manager, would you prioritize how they've played for you in the past competition, or would you prioritize how you see them playing in the league?
Wow, that's a very tough question. Obviously, that how they are playing in the league will influence whether you want to select them or not for the national team. Are they having enough playing time? Are they really performing very, very well? Or because if a player, for instance, if we go back to Uruguay, we were talking about Suarez. Well, Suarez is playing in Uruguay now, and he's older, and we have seen him not performing the same strength that he used to be just 3, 4, 5 years ago. The same with Cavani. He's now playing for Valencia. He was without soccer for a long time, and who knows where he's going to be for the Cup. And if you have a younger player, I'm not saying that the coach will call Torre or anyone else, but that have potential, you might give them a chance. Now, if I am the coach and some players have been reliably good, right, and consistent, and they also are playing maybe not at a great level, but they have continuity, I would call them. I mean, I agree. The case of Messi is one. Last year, he was really underperforming totally in PSG and in the national team for the qualifying for the World Cup. He was just masterful, as well as the Copa America. That they won. They also won in Brazil against Brazil.
Yeah, which is that's a tough feat in itself.
With a great goal by Di Maria.
Yeah.
Remember that one was just kind of one for the ages. So kind of, but excellent question.
Yeah, because we obviously, I'm going to use England as the example because I see so many examples in there. When we see the likes of a Harry Maguire, even a Mason Mount at the current moment, someone who's been struggling at the start of the season, or Harry Maguire who just should be playing a different sport.
He's just,
it's tough because managers obviously have their favorites, sort of. Like, they see what they want and how they want their team to play with certain players. But it comes at a point where, why isn't Tomori getting a call-up? Like, why?
He's been amazing at AC Milan.
Yeah, like, why? Finally, James just got a call-up. He's a solid player when he wants to be, but why is he sometimes still getting call-ups over certain players?
Well, I will bring a different topic that will be controversial, but it's said by me, and I hope that nobody will sue me for this. So I will not name names, not to get anyone compromised, but a friend of my brother from childhood who was a professional soccer player, playing a number of teams, and was a coach in a neighboring country for many times, and it's still be on TV, doing commentary and everything. When he was a player, and of course, this is many years ago, and he was in South America. He told me that some coaches, right, they had some players that they will choose not because necessarily of their strength, abilities, or talent, but they will choose them actually for, you were laughing about Morata's situation and everything. the representatives of the
same
players with the
representatives.
the managers and they get a lot of goodies out of that.
Yeah.
I hope that this is not happening nowadays. I hope that this has been cleaned up from these times, some 35, 40 years ago to now. But sometimes you see things that are really strange. I mean, look, we are going to be playing, and no offense to the Qataris or anything, but and looks like they have wonderful stadiums, air conditioned.
Yeah, but then
facilities are great. How they got that? Right?
Yeah, how did they do it? Right? It's like, did you hire some construction workers, or was there slaves? Like, that's the question we want to ask right now.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's terrible.
Horrible.
Well, that's the question. Like, when it comes to sports, what's more important, prioritizing the sport itself, or allowing some sports washing to come in to promote the sport? Because we see it time and time again with just teams in general, right? Man City, when they were first brought out. We saw it with Chelsea with the Abramovich era, right? We saw it with Newcastle right now at the current moment, correct? Like, Newcastle bought out. They're now the richest club in the world. There's no joke about it, no other way. They have the most money available to an owner.
Yeah. Well, also PSG, right?
Yeah, PSG, same example.
PSG got to be like number 3, then Man City's number 2.
Well, it's interesting because some of them look at that as an investment.
Yeah.
Some of them may be, for their own egos. There are alternatives to that, but I don't know. I mean, in the present situation.
But do you think it's a way to like promote their own sort of agenda / country? Because when you see like, oh, the Manchester metropolitan area is being raised because of how much investment Man City's putting back into the city, it's like, is it a way for them to paint a better picture for themselves in comparison to what people think of them? Of like, with some of the human rights issues that they have.
Well, my naive part of self will say, like we are now talking about soccer with a great level of passion, and it is considering it not just a beautiful game, but part of, as we say in Latin, a sine qua non, right? And an absolute part of who we are also identity-wise. I would love to think that these guys have the same feeling, and given that they have a lot of money, they are investing on something that they have passion for and is their lives. But the not naive part of myself, I mean, I see money laundering, I see politics associated with that. I mean, it is unavoidable, and they are making also a brand, and they are trying to sell that brand, and of course with that comes themselves and what they represent, and it is the cases of Russia World Cup and Qatar World Cup. I mean, give me a break. I mean, and again, look. Qatar national team is pretty good in Asia, and they have a couple of teams there in Qatar that have won also. I mean, even in the World Cup for clubs, they have a couple of years ago or more, or 3 years ago, so they were the third position, kind of.
Yeah.
So it's not that soccer is not part of their lives or that they don't know what that game is about or anything like that, right? But we know all the rest. I mean, the place that, I'm not for really trying to mix politics with sports, but sometimes, like the case of Russia and the case, I mean, they are using that. Look, as I teach the history and the philosophy of education, and as an historian, when I see how this, I mean, how the Nazis have utilized that to present themselves in a total different way to the world through the Olympics and everything. How Putin have used that to present, Russia with all the shows and all the kind of statements, really. Even through the opening ceremony, if you pay attention, the ways in which he was reconstructing Russian history, so you can say, I mean, come on, I mean, really? I mean,
Yeah.
we are here for the game that we love, right? I mean, but reality hits us in some ways.
Exactly. So, great topic. Just to divulge from that and go into something different. There's two teams in the Premier League right now that are struggling a bit. We have Liverpool and we have Chelsea. Chelsea under new management with Graham Potter, who a lot of people don't like, but me, I'm a personal fan of, and I was very, very agitated to see him go to a Chelsea because I know how good he is. And we have, of course, Jurgen Klopp. Who do we believe has the bigger struggle this season with their team? Is it going to be a Graham Potter rebuilding a Chelsea? Because if Chelsea had kept all the players they lost due to contract issues and all that stuff, and also built upon what they had with the signings they had now, they would sort of be a different team. But now it's obviously a whole different ballgame for them. It's how are they going to how are they going to adjust and perform when there's teams who are performing at a higher level than them?
I can forgive Chelsea this year.
Yeah.
Coming out of the whole situation with ownership and all the changes, as you have been mentioning, I can tolerate Chelsea not performing well. Hopefully, not that I am a fan of Chelsea, but it's one of those teams you want to see competing and putting pressure on some of the teams that I would like. Liverpool, I am in shock, personally. I thought that they will be better at this point, but I never will. I mean, they have not only their tradition, but they still have a wonderful team, and they have an excellent coach. And yes, they brought, Nunez still needs to mature a little bit. He has a lot of potential.
I think also the issue for Nunez is that red card, I think, threw him for a loop.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't outstanding, but he was still putting in a shift, still performing well.
And he was adjusting.
And having those 3 games off and on the sideline, I think it sort of like has thrown him for a loop. Totally. I think this team adjusting without a Sadio Mane, because I think people forget how much Sadio Mane would save Liverpool in certain games with pulling out one or two goals out of nowhere.
And with him pressing and going into the midfield to help a lot.
Right. Yeah, and well, to go back to the Nunez case, I mean, remember when Suarez just started in Liverpool, he had some of these huge mistakes too. It's an issue of temperament, maturity, and understanding the particular context of that football. They are going now to go for him time and again. They're going to provoke him, and he will have to, swallow it. He will have to be much better at that. Now, what I like when Nunez is in the starting lineup, particularly, is that he's opening a little bit the defense of the rival, giving people like Salah more space to,
because he's playing like your traditional number 9, because they were so used to having a Roberto Firmino sort of dropping deep a lot, letting Salah and Sadio Mane go up, attack from inside, supply balls or get a goal himself. And now Liverpool has to adjust of, oh wow, we have a real striker now. Yeah. Like it's not Origi getting that lucky goal in the Champions League for us, a random header, a cult hero. We have a real striker now.
Yeah, well, Firmino, it's the false 9.
Yeah,
kind of going by a little bit of what Messi used to do when he was with Barca.
Yeah, that 90-goal season as a center forward. Yeah. No, everyone's gonna remember that.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
but Nunez gives them an option. It's not Haaland. I mean, as much as he's not Haaland, he's not going to be like Haaland, but he can become an important force that will give an interesting option. And by his own physicality too, I mean, he can take on the defenders. Which is what can give again the space to the others to
and he's tall also.
Yeah, but also the thing with Darwin Núñez is that you can't be a Haaland, because when you have a Diogo Jota, when you have Luis Diaz, when you have a Mohamed Salah, you can't just be a full out and out, I'm going to score all the goals. You have to be able to work around with the people you have around you, because it's not just a one-man show there at Liverpool.
Absolutely. Luis Diaz is another.
Yeah, he's
so good.
Yeah. Talk about just players from the Portuguese league breaking in right away, like from Bruno Fernandes to Luis Diaz, Ricardo Pereira when he went to Leicester. Like, it's no joke over there. Like,
wait, Luis Diaz. Now here is my wrong. Maybe isn't he Colombian? By
yeah,
now?
he is
That's
Colombian. Yeah.
Yeah. The I mean, if you don't mind, you are talking about the Portuguese. But the Portuguese national team, it's not a reflection of the quality of the players that they have.
This is a hot take. I think it's because there's too
many stars. Is it Ronaldo?
Because the thing is that for a national team has to be all about the national team. But when you're, I make this point, Cristiano Ronaldo at club level. When you're Cristiano Ronaldo, you're bigger than that national team.
Yeah.
Because it was the same argument I had with him at Manchester United right now. Ronaldo doesn't work at Manchester United because he's bigger than Manchester United. Yeah. And it's not going to work because when you're playing at Manchester United, you're playing for Manchester United. That's how it's always worked over the years. And it's the same thing we play at Juventus. And it was the same thing that he was able to get away with at Real Madrid because his name was sort of synonymous at a certain point with the club. But now it's gotten even bigger than the club.
So how do you see the chances? They are in the same group with South Korea, with Uruguay.
I would be worried about South Korea just because of Heung-min Son, Hwang Hee-chan. Wow. You have a solid midfield base as well.
They have that defender that's at Napoli now.
Yeah,
he was at he played, I think, in Fenerbahce before he arrived over, and he's been really
he went from
replaced Koulibaly.
He went from J League to Fenerbahce to Napoli,
and he's doing tremendously well. South Korea, they good players, and I remember the last World Cup. Yeah, they were there too. They were really good.
And that was a son that was 4 years younger. Imagine him now.
Yeah,
we were just talking about it. Heung-min Son on the weekend comes off the bench, scores a hat trick.
Yeah, and beautiful. Hat trick. Really kind of the goals.
And then we were talking about how last season he ties for Golden Boot with a majority of his goals being scored off his weak foot. Like, there's obviously a clear talent there.
No doubt. It's going to be a very interesting World Cup, but of course I am waiting. I mean, I hope to be able to get tickets when we play in here.
Oh yeah, 2026.
Oh, 2026. Yeah.
I already explained how I'm taking out a mortgage. I'm going to a loan shark. I'm getting that World Cup final ticket.
So I heard the finals being played at MetLife. The finals being played at MetLife.
I mean, it's a big enough stadium. My only concern, it's not built for football, right? Because when you go to Red Bull Arena, like, any seat you sit at Red Bull Arena, you can see the game with perfect view. Meanwhile, at like MetLife, you have to like watch out for a random pole. You're a little too high. You gotta like look over a bit and realize, I might fall over the edge real quick. Like it's not it's not really built for a sporting, like a really good sporting event, because it's built for football where you have to watch one play every once in a while. It's built for all the concerts that are there. Like, it's not really a footballing.
They got 4 years to figure it out. They got enough time.
You're young, so you probably weren't born when the World Cup was '94.
No,
I was living in Michigan.
I was 1 year old.
I was in Michigan, and I was living in Ann Arbor at the time, and I was able to see some games they played in the Silverdome, which was at the time the Lions football stadium. And they were able to fill it up. They did some changes with the turf and everything, and they were able to play well. But it was not designed like the MetLife Stadium. This MetLife. It's a different design. It's this modernity piece, and that the architects or whoever designed that were using it. I think you're right. It functions well for football. It's like with the New York team. The New York City team.
NYCFC. I can't, man. They're playing on like a 7-a-side field that's so narrow.
But
I heard the
baseball team.
They're gonna make their own stadium. I heard it was getting approved soon.
So they're trying to buy out the plot of land that the Jets originally tried to buy by the old train yard in the city. So it's like, it's not as active anymore. It holds some freights and stuff, and the Jets were trying to buy that out for so long. But now the Citigroup, their main global agenda is to have a stadium in every major city. So they have one in Brazil, they have one in Australia, they have one in England. Now they're trying to get the one in New York City.
They have a team in Montevideo too. City Torque. But it will be difficult for them to really obtain. I mean, given the price of the land, to have it in Manhattan
they-
will be impossible.
I mean, they got the money.
They got the money.
They'll say, hey, New York City, 15 billion. There we go. Just
Yeah.
let it have. It's fine, bro. We'll make you money. Don't worry. It's fine.
And the tickets are cheap too to go see New York CFC.
Well, yeah, bro.
A lot of the time it doesn't really get filled up because they'll have the camera so put onto the pitch that they don't want to show like a lot of the empty holes.
Did you see
at
at Yankee Stadium because they won the MLS Cup? They have like one small tiny banner to the like right of the field. It's like that's it.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. It's like we were champions. Like nothing.
Yeah, but if they had their own stadium, that cup would be.
I mean, here's the thing, because Atlanta's done it right. Inter Miami's done it right. Even Tennessee, you have to have plans to have your own stadium. You can't just be like, you should either be rotating out of MetLife or not using a baseball field. It's plain and simple. Or share it with Harrison. Share it in Harrison with Red Bulls. Because if Inter Milan and AC Milan can share the San Siro,
right,
NYCFC and Red Bulls can share a stadium.
right. In Montevideo, the Centenario Stadium was shared by Peñarol and Nacional
Yeah.
and they still from time to time play their games. It doesn't, it's like the Jets and the Giants. They can share.
They share a stadium. But then I think the issue for them is that they want to have a legitimate New York team, not have a New York team, but a majority of them be in New Jersey, right?
Yeah, well, we being in New Jersey, we have the right to be upset with some of those, right? I mean, they call it the New York Jets. It's really in Jersey. The New York Giants is in Jersey, and the Red Bulls are in Jersey.
The Red Bulls have been Jersey-based since they even been formed, since they were Metro Stars. So it's not even like they were in New York in the beginning. Like, Metro Stars were in New Jersey originally.
I think having the name New York, I think that might be the only reason why it sells a bit
marketing.
more. Yeah, marketing.
Yeah, marketing. Yeah, okay, marketing. They're marketing so well. I mean, I can't say anything. The one thing I will say though is that, so going back onto our prior topic about Liverpool and stuff, I think the difference between Liverpool and a City is that City not only have a phenomenal starting 11, they have a phenomenal 7 players on the bench as well.
Yeah.
And the way how it's all ran over there, because we're talking about in tiers of how Newcastle are right now and how teams that get bought by money, how they work. It goes from how City's the prime example of this. They go from getting the right players slowly, getting the right manager, fixing the facilities, now getting youth players in, now buying out the whole entire league to the point where you're making yourself a superstar conglomerate, right?
Yeah. Well, but also, I mean, City is a team where players want to go and play.
Yeah.
Liverpool too. They just are not there this year.
Well, they just don't have the depth though, because
they didn't replenish, and it's like the old guard still.
Yeah,
because you get so many injuries, because when you have Thiago, Fabinho, and all them out, now you have to rely on a Henderson and a James Milner.
Yeah. Not young kids.
I mean,
not even technical.
And then here's the thing, and then you have Robertson injured, but then you have to rely on Tsimikas, who's like half decent. If Trent's injured, who's replacing him at right back?
Milner.
Yeah.
Another kid.
Yeah, another guy.
But the one thing I will say though, like the signings of like Fabio Carvalho and the promotions of players like Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott shows there's a clear sign of where they want to go. Luis Diaz. Darwin Nunez is in the plans.
Right.
Now, do you fill that role with Fabio Carvalho, or do you put Jota? That's the thing right now for Liverpool. But then again, I mean, like this Premier League season, you just don't know what can happen, because Liverpool can go on like a 5-game bad run, but then they can go and win the rest of the season somehow.
Right,
you know,
and it looks like Arsenal is the team to beat now.
Yeah, I mean, what they've won 5, lost 1, drew 1, right?
Yeah.
No, they lost once and won 6 times.
They won 6 times. Yeah, that's right. United put you in your place. Relax over there, buddy. All right. No, but that's also another thing, right? Because Arsenal are having sort of a South American revolution with having players like Gabby Jesus, Gabriel,
and
Martinelli. But then also United bringing in players like Anthony. They're bringing in Facundo Palestri as a young player, Garnacho, obviously, Lisandro Martinez, Fred. I mean, line, like trying to get the ball through, somehow does this amazing flick around the player, but then messes up the final pass to Ronaldo. It's Fred within a nutshell right there.
Yeah. I still like Fernandes.
Bruno, I like Bruno. I think it's tough for Bruno because he needed a manager like Ole, who was a great man manager, who was able to appease a player, like let them know everything's gonna be okay. Whereas like
Ten Hag is about his system and
Yeah.
the way he wants to play.
and then I think also another thing, I think when you have a Ronaldo, a Fernandes can't shine. And then when you don't have that focal point like a Martial at striker or even a Cavani or somebody, because he had someone to rely on at striker, he had a winger who he knew was going to be at the wing, and he had someone at right wing who knew was going to be at right wing. Whereas now this front line's so free-flowing, anyone could be at any position at any time.
Yeah, that's part of what we were talking much earlier today about the coach and the system, and whether they will be bringing in the players that will fit the system that they want to play, or whether they will be bringing very good players and see how we can. I mean, there are some principles that I can accept that the coach embraces, but the dogmatism sometimes can go against you. I mean, you had one orange mechanic kind of, I saw them playing too, the World Cup that they didn't win. It was Germany won. That thing cannot be replicated to some extent. Barcelona did, and to some extent some of these principles still be playing with City, but it is a type of game that requires a total. I mean, you need time, you need to invest in developing players, young players. I mean,
speaking about giving time, what did you think about what happened with Thomas Tuchel? Do you think he was not given enough time, or do you think that it was the right move for Chelsea, that things weren't going right? Because obviously, he's a phenomenal manager. Any club would love to have him. And from what it looked like in the window, it seemed like Tuchel had a say in transfers. They were backing him to the moon. And 5 games in, Graham Potter's in now.
Well, that's what we were talking earlier in terms of the patience and the support that coaches have. We were talking the difference between
of course.
the U.S. coaching staff and the Mexican coaching staff and that level. I think that Chelsea act too harsh, too fast.
I mean, of course, under the old regime, like Di Matteo goes from winning you a Champions League,
FA Cup, and then he's gone within like
4 months.
Yeah.
So obviously they're easy to pull the trigger, but I think the point that was being made by a lot of fans was that it's a new ownership, but yet it's still sort of the same style. So is there really going to be a change in that regard?
I think there's going to be a change. I think Graham Potter, I'm on that boat with you. I think we're the only two that think like Graham Potter.
Dude, everyone's like, oh, you're a Graham Potter stan. I'm like, I don't think you understand.
Like how much of a good coach he is.
Like what he was able to do out of Brighton, especially in the first 6 games. Like you lose Cucurella, you lose Basuma. You're bound to lose a Neil Maupay to Everton. He wants to leave. You're not really getting that many replacements. You have to make Danny Welbeck work as striker. Let's not forget, a rejected Danny Welbeck from like 5 different clubs.
Yeah.
And yet starts off the season absolutely spectacular with a McAllister, right? Another Argentinian.
Fantastic.
Doing fantastic. You have the likes of Sally March, of Trossard. Like, to be able to do that in back-to-back seasons, to get them their highest place finish, to get a club even still going at the beginning of a season, is still impressive.
I agree.
Huh?
I agree.
I mean, we have that. We have World Cup coming up. Obviously, you're excited for Argentina and Uruguay.
Yeah.
So then, if it comes down to it, who do you have to pick? It's got to be one or the other. Let's say hypothetically, it's a quarterfinal against Argentina and Uruguay.
Okay.
It's a tough question.
Uruguay.
I love the underdog. I love what Uruguay represents. I mean, small country, always in the shadow of Brazil and Argentina. They play with heart.
Yeah.
They play with guts. They leave everything they have on the field. And even if they don't succeed, I will continue to applaud them and their effort. I mean, of course, I hope they get there. I mean, I was really disappointed in Russia, the game against the French. I mean, always they started with the VAR. I mean, there was this goal by Cavani. I mean, don't get me started.
Yeah.
But I recognize that the talent of Argentina it's outstanding. But for me, the team to beat always is Brazil.
Yeah. I mean, especially because like teams like Brazil, France, and even Spain at some points, they have enough players on their rosters where they can field 3 different starting World Cup squads that can compete.
Totally. The advantage of the Uruguayans in relation to the Brazilians is that all the heart that, all the garra, all the guts that the Uruguayan teams have, it's what is lacking for the Brazilians.
Mm-hmm.
They in Spanish we say pecho frío. I mean, they are cold in their chest. They don't. I mean, they play beautiful. They can surprise you in 5 minutes. They win the game. They can score like they did against the Germans or whatever, big time. But it's also a mentality, and
that's why that's a lot of ego.
Yeah. So I but the Argentina Uruguay game, if eventually comes, will be. I mean, I will be happy with whomever goes on.
Yeah.
But Uruguay is in my heart. Yeah.
I mean, just to think about South American teams, right? So we have Ecuador, who made it.
Yeah.
Argentina, of course.
Yeah.
Brazil.
We have Brazil, Costa Rica,
Uruguay.
Uruguay,
Yeah.
Brazil, Ghana. So that's
Mexico is there. The Latin
Mexico's
American teams.
Yeah, that's Central America, obviously.
Yeah,
but so that's like what 5 teams that are Latin based that have a solid chance. Like they're not even like underrated. They're solid teams. I mean, this World Cup is gonna be a fun one for South America because not only is there a big European mix in there now, there's a big like Latin mix in there as well.
Yeah, they have great players and they have some good coaching staffs. Those are teams that might be able to pass to the next round. But beyond that, besides Brazil, Argentina, and maybe Uruguay, I'm not sure. If the Mexicans, that I know it's not South America, but it's still be Latin America, if the Mexicans get their act together and they really start blaming each other as they do every other day, and they can go on also maybe. But it's not elite. It's not winning the World Cup at this moment.
Yeah.
On the other hand, one of the things that is just nowadays in soccer, any team can surprise you. I mean, obviously there are differences in resources, differences in talent. As you say, the Brazilians can have 3 teams that can beat you, by many goals. But there are also these. I mean, I still remember that game. I think it was in Brazil. Iran against Argentina, and they were playing 10-0-0, basically. The 10 of them were inside. So, I mean, it was Argentina 1-0, but I mean, it is just...
talk about playing Brexit football, right? That was just, yeah. I mean, here's the thing, right? I think Uruguay's got a tough group, though, because they have to make it out against South Korea, against Portugal, and against Ghana. I mean, meanwhile, South Korea and Ghana are seen as, like, lesser teams.
But Ghana got good players.
But it's still... But I think people forget, it's still the World Cup. Yeah. Like, we talk about nationalism in just basic regards. Imagine nationalism on a level scaled to 7 billion people that are interested in it. Like, this is one of the biggest competitions in the world, and no team is just going to sit there and let anything happen.
Absolutely.
Everyone's playing for a win. This is something where there's no such thing as a... I mean, there is the, like, there is, like, underdogs in certain regards, but... There's no team greater than the other right now at this current point when we talk about World Cup. Everyone is considered equal just because of how much each and every single team want to win that World Cup.
Absolutely.
And every team has earned their spot into the World Cup.
Yeah, and they can surprise you in any moment with a situation that was not planned, maybe a good, those that have been drawn in the dressing room with a coach, kind of practicing with them many, many times the same play, and they try it out and it works. right? And then they go and play defense the rest of the game, and who knows, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, that one of South Korea, Portugal, Ghana, and Uruguay, and Uruguay and Ghana have history, right? I mean, if you remember
that 2010. I remember that.
with Suarez, and then was it Abreu with a penalty kick? I think was that game, right?
Yeah, where he saved the ball. Well, my question for you is, are you ready to get up at 5 a.m. to watch some games? That's
absolutely. No doubt. I mean, excuse me. I mean, I don't use the telephone as you use it, right? I mean, I'm not that skillful, but I have here in my calendar everything already.
Yeah.
All the times and everything.
Yeah, that's the same.
Yeah, it's just kind of...
Because I've been trying to plan everything out for what we could do as possible coverage, and the fact that there's going to be 65 games played within a month, I think people don't comprehend it, because... Like some Americans, right? They'll say, "Oh, like March Madness with all the games or all this." I'm like, I don't think you understand that there's like 30 teams, there's 65 games, and it all leads down to one of the most televised games in the world at a certain point.
Billions watch.
Billions.
Yeah. And I don't know, you might have to come to class, but one thing is to sit in a class and listen or whatever. I have to teach.
Yeah. That's gonna be like, oh yeah, guys, we're gonna be on Zoom today. Meanwhile, it's like a pre-recording.
In the corner right there.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, guys, great. Like he has his monitor going right now, but like he's not looking at students. He's looking at the game. He's like, yes. Oh my God, that was so great. Thank you for that presentation.
I do have 2 screens in my office.
Yeah. Definitely. Oh man.
And I'm not the only one. I mean, I know that some of my close friends here are listening now. They are professors too, and they do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say anything because I'm still a student here, but I totally watch all my professors 110%. There is nothing else going on in the background. If it's
absolutely
there's no 10 a.m. kickoffs. I don't know what you're talking about. There's only my classes now.
Yeah,
Professor, I have a question. One of the topics we also had was American USA Ultras versus other fan Ultras.
Yeah, so
and I know when it comes to Argentina with the Ultras and how passionate they are, you must have like at least a story.
Yeah, because the thing is, we were supposed to have one of the GSU Ultras from New York Red Bulls, Peter here. He's one of the good friends of mine. He's one of the guys where he has a flare going, the drum going at the game, going crazy. Like, he's one of the few, like, Ultras we have here in the U.S., and I wanted to bring him on just sort of have a comparison talk, because when it comes to the Rebel Arena, it's never filled out, but that supporter section where there's no chairs, chairs are locked up, everyone is standing and going, that's the most lively part of the stadium.
Yeah. Well, I when I go here to the stadium, I mean, for instance, when I was just, season tickets with the Red Bulls and everything, I never had any fear where I'm going to be sitting or what will happen before the game or after the game. There are places in Argentina, for instance, that I wouldn't just go. I mean, you're risking your life in some places. I mean, it just goes like that. So much so that the very same Argentinian Soccer Federation, the football, the AFA, Asociación de Fútbol Argentino, they don't let visiting teams come to the stadium. It's kind of now in the River Plate Stadium, the last couple of games they have let some fans of the other teams come and things of the like. It can become very violent if you are on the opposite side. Yeah. But even if you're in the same side, but you belong to a different gang, you might also be in trouble.
Yeah.
It is a little bit corrupted. It's too bad. On the other hand, also I have noticed a change with the Argentinian fans, which is there are sections in which now you see families and they are well protected and they are okay, which is really a progress, because you want the children to go to the stadium.
Oh yeah, of
you
course.
Want them, you want girls to be watching the game. We want also boys to go and watch girls' games and everything. Yeah. So it's changing. Just as talking about stories, I was in Paris, Stock, for a few days, and it was the game, Liverpool, Real, and you got to see those Brits. I mean, they were. It was 10 a.m. 10 a.m. on that Saturday, they were drinking already.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they were. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. It's the same thing over here in the U.S. when they have the tailgates. Like, yep, barbecue's up, drinks are out, ready to go. You know.
Yeah.
Well, guys, that's all the time we have for today. I appreciate you coming on, Dimitrios. Thank you, Jaime. Thank you so much for coming. It was a pleasure having you. Really great time.
Thank you so much.
You've been listening, Top of the Hour on WMSC Upper Montclair, and this is Matchweek. Or as usually we have a guy. His name is Jonathan Chavarria, and every time I say that, he usually goes, "Este es Matchweek." Guys, thank you for coming. I'll see you. Have a good day.